I've created a new project by duplicating the program requirements from the owner, and I'm going to focus on this building called Instructional Building 3. This is a program requirement model. In other words, it's a rough massing model with net spaces inside. If I open up this building, go inside it, we'll see that it has 2 floors, and there are spaces based on the program requirement that came from the Fusion IPP data. So the room names and room numbers are critical to maintain. This is basically what the owner is saying they'd like to have in the building. There's a large area called gross area calculation. This is for all support areas, restrooms, corridors, structure, etc. I'm going to park this off to the side for a second. Then we have a large gymnasium space and some smaller dance studios. If we maintain this locked area, it actually will maintain the square footage. So if I toggle on the edit the shape of the space, it'll allow me to start editing the space size, but still maintain the total area. It's maintaining the square footage, for example. I'll try and put this gymnasium here, and we could zoom in. It's important not to get too caught up in the accuracy of the plan at this point. We're just trying to see if this will fit based on the design that we're trying to set up. So let's say we're trying to put the design studios here, and we know that from the master planning documents, actually if I turn on the context, site context, we can actually see there's a bridge, a pedestrian bridge that comes across from the main campus. The question is, how does the entry to the building connect to that bridge? And we'll deal with that later, but if we can actually start to even study it at this point, we could say, well, we want to make the front entry there, for example. Maybe it's that this is the front entry, or maybe this is the passageway. It really depends how the design is going to work out. We'll go ahead and put the locker rooms back here and place the equipment storage here for a second. This gross area for circulation, I'll leave it parked off to the side here, and if I click on it, I see that it's 14,200 square feet. And if you click on reports as well, you can kind of start to see, if I even go to the attribute group, for example, and say let's actually look at the departments and show a report, it actually generates a report and shows us all the square footage in the building. And sorting it by department, we can actually see classroom space on the 2nd floor. For one of the buildings, the athletic building is right here. You can actually see the 1st floor and 2nd floor, the fitness training and dance studio for athletics, etc. So we'll take this this gross area and actually do a couple things here. One is I'm going to go ahead and duplicate it. I'm going to copy and paste it, so I'll have 2 versions of it. Paste to the center of the screen, so I have two versions of it. And this one I'm going to actually unlock the area because I want to start reclassifying some of this space. So let's say that I want to make a space called support area, or actually let's say restrooms. And we're still in blocking and stacking mode here, so we don't have to worry too much about how we classify this at the moment, or as far as how we break it up. But we can say that we know that we need to have some restrooms in this building. Okay, so let's put the restrooms right here. Maybe that's actually too large, so you can actually start to refine what we think it should be. So this part of the program is basically drawing off of this and saying we need to account for certain things. So for an example, another thing that we might need is circulation. So we can say, okay, let's add some circulation to this building. We can be as accurate or as rough as you'd like. We're still at the blocking and stacking phase, so we're just trying to get within range of what would make sense for circulation in this building. And maybe there's a little lobby out here. Oops, there's two red dots here. Let's delete one of those, and now we can actually stretch out like that. So we have the restrooms here. We have circulation right there. Maybe we'll put the restrooms right here, and etc. So you can keep on going like this and keep on breaking this up. And the point about this is that we're going to eventually delete this, but we're going to see if we have if we select these two spaces together and double click on them, it actually shows us a total of 4,700 square feet for these two spaces, and our original area on this was 14,000, so we still have a lot more to go that we can use for other areas. And there's some interpretation that needs to be done as a designer. You'd have to make a decision on what is needed. And actually this area between the two buildings, we know that they're talking about making this an open kind of a breezeway, but let's go ahead and account for that as circulation there as well for now. And maybe we need to add mechanical, put some stairs, because we know that there's a second floor here. So a staircase, we can actually get very precise if we want. We can click on the edge of this and say we need a 20-foot by 10-foot stairwell. Let's call this stair. And we'll place a stair right here and move over the marker here as well. Maybe duplicate this and have another stair down here. Okay, we haven't changed any of the room numbers. See, they're all named 9,900. What we recommend is actually naming them in sequence. This is the 9,900 group, so maybe it's 9,901, 9,902, etc. You can do that individually by clicking on it and changing that. But we want to keep them classified as the 9,900 groups when we track back to the original program requirements here. So now we have this group called gross area circulation, which includes all these spaces. If we select only these and double click on that, and we see we're at 11,500. So we have a little bit more that we can use. There's some space in there, so there are probably some other support spaces, etc., that are needed. We'll leave this for now, and maybe actually even shrink this down and say, okay, we need to have another couple thousand square feet here. This is a balancing act, obviously, that you have to decide as a designer how you're going to allocate that space. And the important thing is that we keep track of this as a group. So this is a group of spaces. So we're getting close to some kind of a layout of a design on the first floor here, and we could now do the same thing on the second floor. If we go to the second floor, and you can even move spaces from floor to floor. It's not necessary to keep them in this arrangement. This is the initial blocking and stacking suggested by the owner. So there we have it again. We have a same type of thing on the second floor. We have a gross area for circulation. We have fitness training. We can lock the areas for a second here and actually get some shape to these spaces, and even turn on the first floor if you want to see what the first floor looks like. So there's a first floor layout, so maybe we say, okay, we really want to have this somehow aligned with the dance studios on the first floor. And we have some classrooms that are going to go possibly here and here. And we have a bunch of office space that's going to go off to the left, and we see stairwells that we have to pull up from here. And this is, again, a quick way to kind of sketch out the idea of how this might all fit together. Now that we have a rough layout of the building complete, we can actually go through and renumber the spaces that we've duplicated, so we don't have duplicate numbers. We want them all to be in the 9,900 group, so we can either double click on the space and renumber it right there. So now this is ready to be looked at in 3D, so we have all the spaces correctly named and numbered now. If we look at this in 3D, we'll see the blocking and stacking model placed on the right part of the site with the rooms correctly placed and ready to be exported to other applications for more detailed design, such as Revit or ArchiCAD or SketchUp or other IFC applications. So in Google Earth you actually can point to things and see the name of the room. And this also has an update. If you go to the report section, it'll give you an updated cost estimate based on the square footage, and you can start checking to see how far off you are from the original requirements. as we start shifting things around, we're going to constantly have to balance the program requirements with the budget with how things fit. So the idea is to do really quick studies like that in the Onuma system before going into more detailed design.